Hi, YouTubers and Strive members. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Today, I will be discussing ROI, your return on your investment. Before I get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Detra Harris, and I am the Managing Director for Strive Wealth Builders. We are a business club for real estate investors. If you have not, please visit our website at strivewealthbuilders.com. Please join. If you are not a member, there is no membership fee to join. Okay, so before I get started, let's go into pretend land. So I'm going to give you a scenario and we're going to analyze this deal, and then I'm going to show you how to calculate your return on your investment, which is why very important. A lot of us as business investors, we have our different styles in terms of what return we are looking for. Some investors are very comfortable with the 4% return. Some say, hey, I have to get at least 10% return. And some investors look for even more of a return over 10%. Our standard return is 10%. So let's get started. Oh, I put in an offer for a property that is located in Cleveland, Ohio. Let's use that. So the purchase price for this property is going to be $100,000. I put in my offer was accepted, and the purchase price is $100,000. Now, I'm going to need a down payment. I'm also going to need closing costs. So the typical and standard down payment for investors usually fall within 20% to 25%. So let's say I'm going to put down 25% return. Okay, I'm sorry, 25% deposit. That's going to be $25,000. 25% of 100,000 is $25,000. Now I'm going to also need closing costs. So we're just going to use some really simple numbers. So $100,000 for the purchase price, down payment of $25,000, and closing costs of $2,500. So our closing costs will cost us $2,500 to close on this deal. So what is our buy-in for this $100,000 property? That would be $27,500. That's how much down payment and closing costs is needed to seal this deal, to get it closed. Let's go to the finish line, right? Let's make some money here. So now that we have that covered, now what we need to talk about is what will my expenses be on this property? So what would that include? That's going to include my principal and interest on my mortgage. So what is my monthly mortgage payment? It's also going to include my homeowner's insurance. It's going to include our taxes, other expenses on the property, such as maybe landscaping. And this is a single family home, by the way. Let's say it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home located in Cleveland, Ohio, for $100,000. So usually it's standard practice in single family homes that the tenant typically will pay for the utilities. So I'm not going to worry about the utilities on this deal, but I will worry about the landscaping, because for me, I'd like to take care of the landscaping and maybe a couple of other things that I'd like to take care of. So I'm going to build a $60 budget for my expenses monthly in that. So my expenses, property expenses, will cost me $60 per month. Now, in addition to that, I also highly suggest that you set aside a reserve. Now, this is often missed from investors. We often don't want to put that reserve in there. But what is a reserve? A reserve is exactly that. You're going to reserve money to the side for any emergency reasons, or for your to apply towards your CapEx, items, such as a water heater, or replacing the roof, or upgrading your landscaping, and so on. So you want to set aside a reserve monthly that can contribute to any emergencies that may happen, or you may want to apply it at the end of the year to your CapEx project. So that's why we put in a reserve, and I highly, strongly suggest that you do the same. So let's talk about the numbers for our expenses. So again, we have our mortgage payment, and that is your principal and interest, and that is $536. Then we also have our homeowner's insurance. That will be $60 a month. And then we also have your taxes. That is $110 per month, as well as your expenses. So say you're going to take care of the landscaping or any other type of expense that you have agreed to with your tenant. Say that's going to be $60. And then we're also setting aside a $50 per month reserve. So we're going to add all of this up. And what does that come to? Have your calculator? Tick, 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 and that's going to come to $816. So it's going to cost us $816, give or take. Sometimes things don't go exactly as planned monthly. You may have a higher expense, or it may be a lower expense. Nonetheless, we're going to say that to manage this property and to pay all of the expenses every month is $816. Now, what I left out is a property management company or property manager you may hire to manage this property. Let's just say we're going to self-manage it. It's a single family. It's my first property. I'm going to take a stab at property management myself and manage the property for at least 6 months, which I always suggest before you decide to hire a property manager or a property management company. So let's move on. How do you calculate your ROI? So this is how you do that. This is the formula. We are going to rent this property out because it's a rental property. We're buying whole. So how much rent can we get for this property? That's going to be a part of our due diligence. How much rent? We should decide that and have that number before we put in our offer, by the way. So make sure you do some good due diligence before you put in your offer to make sure that these numbers work and that you are meeting your goal, your ROI goal. Now, so let's say we can get $1,000 per month for this property in rents, and it's the market rate rents, and that's what we can get for this two-bedroom bath, it's $1,000. Now, what we're going to do now is take that $1,000, we're going to subtract our expenses. Now, remember we talked about that. That's our principal and interest, our mortgage payment, that's our homeowner's insurance, that is our taxes, any expenses on the property, and also we're going to set aside some reserve. That came to 816. Remember we said 816. So we're going to subtract that 816 from that 1,000 rent. So now your tenant has paid you rent and hopefully paid you on time. So now you can pay all of your bills out of that rent that you've just collected on the first of the month. Sometimes we have to pay our bills before the rent comes in, but hopefully your tenant is a good paying tenant and pay on time every month, and you can take care of those responsibilities. So after we subtract that 816 from the 1,000, what do you get? You have your calculator out? I got $184 per month. Okay, so that's what our cash flow is. So your cash flow now is $184 a month. After you pay all of your expenses, you're going to pocket that $184 per month. There's some other variations that go along with that, but we're going to keep this really simple. So now let's get to the meat of calculating your ROI. So what you want to do is you want to determine your annual cash flow. So what is your annual cash flow? What does that calculate you? What if you want to times your monthly cash flow, which is 184 times 12, right? That's going to give you 2,208 returned annually. So that's how much cash flow is coming in annually for this one property, $2,208. So now you want to do is you want to divide that by your down payment and your closing costs. And let's go back to down payment and closing costs. What did we put down and what was our closing cost? That was $27,500. So what we want to do, this is the formula. So annual cash flow divided by your down payment and your closing costs. So when we divide that, what you'll get is a decimal. You're going to get a 0.080. So we're going to move that decimal over 2 times. And what you're getting on this property is an 8% return on your investment. Now, for some investors, this is a deal breaker. I need 10% or above before I will even put in my offer on this property because that's my return and I'm not budging. Other investors, 8% is a great, not as good as a great return on your investment if that's your style. So it works for some, right? Now there's other ways that you can increase your cash flow with this deal and in fact, increase your return on your investment. I'm not going to go into that because we're going to keep this short. And the point of this video is to show you how to calculate your return on your investment. We did that. So in another video, I'll show you how you can increase your cash flow on this deal, as well as your return on your investment. So I hope all of this was really good information for you and helping you to determine your ROI on your investment. That's really important to determine that. So now go out and place that offer, make that money, and get that cash flow. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.